You started the YouTube channel. So what's all that about?
Yeah, well, it's good to be here with you, Ben. I know we've been like every now. I think over the years you've been like maybe tagging or reposting something, maybe tweeting or commenting or something. But good to be on your show. Um, my YouTube channel. I started my first interview was with Kobe Bryant. That was 2008. So I was the first athlete to interview another athlete during the season. Maybe I was second or third or fourth, but you know, I interviewed Kobe when I was doing some stuff with Fox, and I said, "Hey, I want to interview Kobe," and I was with the Rockets at this time, so I was a competitor of Kobe, and I interviewed him in the middle of the season, and then we also had that famous series um, later that May in the semifinals. Then I also launched a podcast called Metaphorically Speaking in 2013, I think that was. So that was like this, all the podcasts you see today where the drinks is on the table. I had Malik Yoba there, all this stuff. So one of the things I was trying to do was, and even in 2007, before the Kobe interview, I was trying to launch a series, but it was focused on social impact. So I think like because I was in a position of, coming up with these cool concepts, ideas to concept, a lot of people want to control versus I wanted to produce. So I wanted people to produce with me, but I own like the actual concepts. So since I wasn't able to get those deals done, I think a lot of those concepts you see now, everybody's doing podcasts. Everybody's doing interviewing athletes, and it's super hot right now. So, one of the things I did was when I went back to school and after I retired, from all the different challenges I had, um, from my experiences on launching different enterprise tech, publications. That's why I went back to school in 2017. I did a quick stint with the G League Lakers part-time gig, but I went back to school for, just to understand digital marketing, understanding the actual technology behind any area where athletes are involved in, from Shopify to Spotify to social media technology platform. And also I wanted to understand how to engage with my consumer because my consumer is not as broad as LeBron James, or even you look at Brunson right now. Right now he's on the verge of getting MVP, and his engagement is big because he's hot, right? So from my perspective, as I learned about my consumer, my engagement and interest has gone down, right? Because I've been focusing the last 8 years on school and learning and developing businesses. So after I had this 8 years, call it a master's program from actual doing things in real time in terms of launching businesses. So now I'm bringing my podcast back, but it's not as if I was playing when I was in my 27 years old, right? I would have been more hot. I could talk about different things. You see things like Draymond is doing and stuff like that, real cool. So I got to tweak my content a little bit. And I'm also 44 years old. So I'm not going to be talking about the same things now that I talked about when I was 27, 22, fresh out of Queensbridge, and different things like that. So the podcast is it's a journey, man. It's called Test Your Greatness, playing off of art tests. My management company is arttestmanagementgroup.com. And it's gonna be, maybe 20% sports. Most of it's gonna be literacy, education, wellness, technology, entrepreneurship, empowerment, collaboration, and different things like that.
There's so many great things right there.
Yes,
First of all, what's it like to go back to school as an NBA champion as Metta World Peace? Was it in person? Was it online? What is that like for you? I mean, obviously, it's a unique place to be, and it's awesome that you did that.
Yeah, well, initially, initially when I retired, I was like, man, I woke up one day and I said, okay, I want to be a head coach. And when I figured out that was going to be difficult at that moment, I said, okay, what do I want to do now that I'm retired? So I wanted to be a head coach, or I wanted to rap full time. I wanted to pick one thing and do it full time. So head coaching, rapping, Series 7. So this is my Series 7, or digital marketing. So I did dibble and dabble with coaching the G League. So I put my time in there, but I told the team like I wanted to do it part time because I just had a long career. My career was different than everyone else's, right? It was just so many different emotions involved where I needed to decompress a little bit. and really just reflect on my career and enjoy it and soak it all up. And it was good thoughts, bad thoughts. So I did that. Then I also studied for the Series 7, but that was going to be too hard because I didn't really want to sit behind a desk the whole time, even though I knew I wanted to work with athletes and launch a management company and work with athletes hands on. So I canned that one. And then rapping, I was going to rap because I do have a story kind of to tell. Being that I'm from Queensbridge and the most historic neighborhood in the history of hip hop, I'm from the trenches and the heart and the soul of that community. And I also have a story to tell. But one of the issues that I came across with rapping, and keep in mind, I was going to do one thing full time, right? So the problem was like the late hour studio sessions, So I was like, man, I don't really want to do that again. I already did that for 18 years, playing basketball, doing all the entertainment. So then when I went back, I applied for UCLA extension courses. And when I saw that I had the endurance to really absorb this digital marketing, I did coding classes. I did digital marketing, social media, business analytics at Concordia Irvine, Google Analytics in Toronto, in Vancouver. I've learned how to work a lot of these different platforms. When I found out that excited me, going back to my initial opportunity to major in architecture at St. John's, I initially was going to go to Miami to major in architecture or Notre Dame. I did get a letter from Princeton too. And keep in mind, I wasn't a great student at the beginning. I'm just super competitive. So as I got my grades right and I got my letter from Princeton, I'm like, damn, that inspired me. But I knew I wasn't going to go to Princeton because, it was just Ivy League at the time. And so Miami, I visited Miami and I was actually going to Miami. So the day I announced on MSG on the MSG show, I had a Miami hat and a St. John's hat. The St. John's hat was because I'm from New York. I love New York. And it was actually a late kind of St. John's, right? I had the Miami hat right there, and I couldn't make a decision, but I'm a loyal New York street, New York guy. And then the night of the draft, I actually had my New York Knicks jersey on because I was going to open up the shirt, but that's a segue. But yeah, so that's what it was, man. I just went back to school, and over the last 8 years, just applying what I learned to my management company, to the different entrepreneurs I'm helping. Initially, I built what I was building for athletes, but I got 30 non-athletes. I got all different entrepreneurs that are not athletes. And so I'm hoping to bring in some athletes at some point in time.
Also, I've seen you on Shark Tank too. So I mean, you're very much into the entrepreneurship. What was that like? And are you still doing anything with that company now?
Yeah, Buttercloth is the company. Buttercloth, I got in with $0 in revenue. We came up with some concepts, really amazing founders, and Dan Tran, Vietnamese heritage, ethnicity, and then Bob Stevens, American co-founder. And we just came up with a concept. We went to Shark Tank. It was about 1,000 people there in the morning, waited on the line just like everybody else. We got called up. We did our pitch. Then they called us back. And we got invited to the show. And Robert Hajevec came in with a nice check. And it went from 0 in revenue to now we're in 8 figures in revenue over the last 2 years. And the company is growing. So I've been doing that, a lot of that stuff. And then my other company, Easy Care Link, it's a nursing staffing platform, easycarelink.com. A poor lady from the Philippines named Jayanhan Idu came to America to become a fashion expert. Then she went to become a nurse. A lot of Filipino nurses around the world. And she saw a problem, was trying to solve the nursing problem in the hospital. And it was really cool because she's a female Filipino founder and most nurses are Filipino. Right? So it's cool to have a Filipino chairwoman. And that company went from 0. I got involved about $100,000 in revenue, took it to high 7-figure revenue as a board member of the healthcare company. So I've been doing a lot of different things like that. So it's kind of, a lot of people just don't understand kind of what I'm doing in all these comments. And I just have to block it all out because I'm super focused right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you didn't play when you played. You didn't play with a lot of this social media stuff. I mean, I guess. I mean, at the end of your career, yes. At the end of that, in that Lakers, when you're on the Lakers at the end, yes. But I mean, I assume it must have been a lot different when you see, like, I guess, how would you get your news when you were in the NBA? Like, would you watch ESPN? Did you not even pay attention to it? Like, Because now I feel like everyone's in the phone, and Twitter, and the locker room, Instagram, right after the games, and maybe even during halftime.
Yeah, but I was social. I feel like I was social media before because I was so active. So Shaq was like the originator of from my era, right? Shaq was the artist, 2 million records sold, platinum twice. Even though he wasn't like super animated, he was entertaining, right? That kind of inspired me also. I had a different story to tell being from, the trenches, Queens, where everybody know where I'm from. It was a little bit different. Um, so I wanted to bring some creativity to call it the Mobb Deep pain. I'm in the league, so I can't bring too much of that. So I'm like, how can I like turn this into a positive? So it took me a while to get out the struggle, then to bring it to entertainment. So when I got into that mode, you can see I was on TV, I was having fun with the media, even though I had my issues, like call it with different things, but I always was great with the media. I started to have fun with it, comedy, making jokes, at the press conferences, doing sneakers, doing clothes, just trying to be, take advantage of this world, which is an oyster. So I feel like I did really good with traditional media. And I think that's why I'm still relevant to this day, because I was always involved in traditional media, even though social media is kind of trumping traditional media.
Well, you're always going to be relevant. I mean, for what you did in your career, always relevant. I know you've done so many things outside of basketball that are just as impressive, if not more. But I mean, just from a sports
Yeah.
perspective, I mean, Metta World Peace, Ron Artest. I mean, how can you get
A lot of things.
I mean, it's really
things.
fun to think about. I was thinking about before we hopped on. I was like, what do teammates call you? I mean, because people knew you as Ron, they knew you as Artest, they knew you as Metta. So what did a guy in the locker room call you when you changed your name?
Well, people was calling me Ron still, but I knew I'm officially Metta when Brad Miller called me Metta. I think Brad Miller in Indiana this All-Star Weekend, he called me Metta. So I said, I think I'm officially Metta now. But there's a lot of New Yorkers that's going to call me Ron. Some people do say, hey, I don't want to disrespect you. Should I call you back? But I don't really care. I changed my name for a different reason to keep me on the path where I wanted to go. I just got the Citizenship Award. I wanted every single award in the NBA. Right now, I didn't get every single one, but I was close to the MVP in 2004. I finished number 6, which they don't publicize. They don't show how I finished.
I didn't even know that offhand. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I did not know that offhand.
They don't show I finished number 6, but they'll show somebody else finished number 6 or number 2. That's a big thing. So I did almost get an MVP. I was big in Game 7. It wasn't a Finals MVP, but people remember my game. So I got like a couple accolades. I got the Citizenship Award. And then I wanted to, my career, in my mind, I always envisioned like a Tim Duncan type of career. But I think the street side, some people will call it what they want, but that's how we grew up. We grew up in the trenches under the mud. So, it's hard to grow up under the mud and then start to eat salad with a fork and a spoon the right way,
I love the analogy, but that actually makes me think of something I didn't even think about asking you before we hopped on. And I was like, that's a great point. Is like the competitive nature you had, whether it was getting in a guy's face, getting a technical foul. We all saw the documentary. It was a great documentary, Mouse to House.
Thanks.
Documentary. But at the same time, that's also what made you so good, is the competitiveness. And I wonder, do you watch the game today? Do you see that same fiercity? Because I mean, people talk about, they say, you don't want to be the guy get off my lawn, the young kids, but I do miss some guys like a Metta World Peace, like like Matt Barnes, just one of your old school tough guys comes in. I mean, Draymond kind of has that to him for sure, but you know what I'm talking about? That guy you just signed where, at the same time, it's like when you weren't an all-star anymore, you were still Mr. Tough Guy in a good way, in a good way.
I should have still been an all-star. I was still the best defender in the league a lot of times.
Yeah. Defense as well, being a top defender. I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand.
From how somebody view an award, people that create these awards, they're not necessarily basketball players, so that's out of your controls, out of your politics. But in terms of the fire I had, it's a fire I wish I didn't have. What people love about me is they don't understand how it got there. So in order to get that type of passion, you have to duck under the bench when shots is going off. You have to have seen somebody get shot. You have to have, you have to have gone through the trenches of police is coming to raid, to raid a crib, right? You have to. That's how you get that fire. Now, I'd rather not have the fire. I'd rather be a boring nerd than to have that fire. It took me what I went through to get to get that fire. It was a lot of like prodigy vocabulary style pain. It was a lot of that 12th Street pain. And so then as I evolved and got into meditation, I remember I had one game and I was getting towards the end of my career and I was leaving on a clean slate. We're playing against OKC. I'm doing my thing in a zenful way. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm meditating, but I had 16 in the first half. So I'm playing pretty well. And then Coach Brown says, because he's from a different type of background, he said, yo, Metta, I need you with more energy. So then I get a dunk, and then I elbow James Harden right after that by mistake. You see what I'm saying? So the thing, the energy that I had, I already dunked on a couple people 3 times in a row. I'm naturally tough versus a guy like, Coach Brown. He needs to figure out where he's going to find that street when I just naturally birth that side. So my therapist taught me how to control it without getting too excited, because when you're looking at a player like me or Draymond, when the emotional levels is too high, your mind and the body, it can't tell a difference if you're happy or if you're upset. That's just how the body works. So even if I'm like, man, I'm so upset, or even if I'm like, oh man, I'm so happy, it's still high level emotion. This is just therapy 101, right? And that's where breathing comes into place. That's where meditation comes into place. And I wish that day I would have been like, nah, I'm good. I'm not about to be getting more excited. I'm just going to play like a Tim Duncan. You never seen Tim Duncan get that excited, but you saw Tim Duncan was strong as an ox. Tim Duncan was effective as one of the most effective players ever without raising his emotional levels. So I actually, in 2007, I learned a lot from Tim. I started to watch him a little bit, actually. And I said, man, I think I could like have an emotional level like that. So anyway, it's the passion and the fire is not one that I wish I had, honestly.
That's you really think that you really, but what about you would you have been the same player?
Doesn't matter. I'd rather be more balanced I'd rather be more balanced and less successful than to be super emotional, super successful, but waves of emotion, right? I'd rather have that balance and be and control the center of the storm than to be in the center of the storm and then also outside of the storm. You're supposed to control the center of your storm because there's always going to be challenges that's going to come into one's life. You don't want to get caught up in every single challenge.
So,
right?
So off that, did they handle? If you're the NBA with Draymond, did they handle that part correctly? Was that? I mean, because so you're explaining all these things, right? Was Draymond in the right, in the wrong? Would that have been suspended in your time? Like what did you take of all that? Did you really care? What did you?
Didn't really care, honestly, because I've been so. I mean, I look at I coach women's basketball, so I'm up at 6 a.m. every day coaching women's basketball. So I can tell you about Division II women's basketball a lot. I know some of the players because we coach them. We got a scout, but when it comes to like WNBA or NBA or Division I, I'm not keeping up to date with a lot of the stuff because I'm also running my business, and I don't see nothing until it's like on YouTube as like a trending topic, but not enough to comment. Not enough to like have a super opinion, but I do know players do go through things, so I'm always available if a player ever needed to talk.
Oh, I like that. Have you been in touch with current NBA players over the years, like as a kind of a mentor role, or would you like to?
When I first retired, I was in contact with a few people, and then that has kind of dwindled. But I'm always available. You call NBA office, and you can get in contact with me. That's easy.
I like that. I think that a lot of players could use that. I think that that's a really good thing. I think you're saying that calmly, but I think that's a really nice thing to have, right? Like a guy.
I think it's a good thing to have in your back pocket. You could talk to some people. You got just people that's willing to, reach out. I remember Michael Jordan reached out to me when I was going. He was the only player outside of players on my team, like Reggie Miller, Reggie Miller did. I spoke to Reggie.
You're saying that casually too. Why'd Michael Jordan reach out? You're saying that casually too.
I mean, he just gave me something. I spoke to Michael twice in my life on the phone. I'm a big Michael fan. I wore the year I got Defensive Player of the Year. It was in his number 23. That's the year I was an All-Star. So only a few people in the last 20 years wore number 23 in the All-Star game. I was one of them. LeBron's one. MJ was one. But he reached out, was like, everything's gonna be okay. So it's good. I'm glad he reached out. I didn't reach out to him per se. I probably should have reached out to his players, right? But when you're a player, you're so competitive. It's like, I don't need to talk to them. I'm gonna get through anything. I'm gonna get through the bad. I'm gonna get through the good. So it's like that ego that you have as a player.
He probably saw a lot of fire in you too. The way, I mean, in the way of like a competitor, right? Like the way he always talks about having that fire burning. He probably saw a guy that just wants to win everything too, was you.
Now I think one of the reasons I did play against Mike in the summer times, I was super competitive. He did ask me to come back because he probably don't remember because Michael's career is just like at the top. I remember because I'm a fan. So yeah. I only had contact with him in the summertime. And then when we played against him, he did come to the gym one time and I might've seen him another time, but so, I think that was the ultimate honor. And I think, I think in the 2001, we just got finished playing against each other in 1999, summer 2000 something. The brawl happened 2004. So it was a little bit more of a connection there at that time. So maybe that's why he reached out.
Okay. Oh, I'm assuming, yeah. You said everything.
That was 2004. This is 2024 now.
Okay. So, but that's also I'm pulling up on my phone right now. We're mentioning Michael Jordan. I tweeted out today. What did I tweet out that you responded to? So I tweeted out. Not been a great franchise since I said Charlotte Hornets since 2016.
Oh yeah.
NBA playoffs 8 times. Multiple players have been in trouble, and their two 2021 first round picks have already been released. Can you believe that? So, and then you respond and you say, Coach Metta. So was that half joking? Is that serious?
No, serious, 100%. Head Coach Metta. My goal is to be one day to be a president and head coach, or just head coach, or to be like an AD and head coach, or just head coach. Doesn't really matter the combination, but coaching is something that I'm just super excited about. I coach now. I'm a volunteer coach over the last 5 years at Cal State LA women's basketball. We went to the tournament for 2 years in a row. First time in school's history. I think the school's been around for 50 years. So that gave me more confidence that we actually making some change. I got a great defensive and offensive system. I know a lot of people said I only play defense, but I've been a go-to player for 6 years in my career until I got with Kobe. I was a number 2 with a Yao Ming. I was a number 1, number 2 with a Mike Bibby and a Bonzi Wells. I was a 1-2 with a Reggie Miller, Jermaine O'Neal combination. I was a feature at times with a Kobe and a Powell. So when you talk about individually coming to the where you're gonna get your bread buttered in my prime, or also execution. From that perspective, and averaging 20 points while playing defense, high level. So I could have easily said, okay, I'm not going to play no defense. I'm just going to go average 25. But I'm giving so much effort on defense where sometimes it would be like a 17-point average. It would be, it was 17 quite sometimes, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24 before the brawl, right before I got suspended. So from that perspective, offense and defense.
So, if the Charlotte Hornets offered you the head coaching job,
anybody offered me a head coaching job, I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah, right away, ready to go.
Okay.
Right away. And like Charlotte's great, right? Because obviously I have my preference. I got a couple teams I would prefer, but those jobs are taken.
Yeah, I don't think I know you're a Knicks fan. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is going anywhere at the moment.
I don't want anybody's job. I don't want anybody's job. I love doing what I'm doing now with helping entrepreneurs, honestly.
No, but I'm saying you're a Knicks fan. You're the Knicks. They're incredible. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing, right? It's unbelievable.
No, I love. Oh yeah, I'm a fan. I just tweeted out just now, like I'm hoping they win a title. Like I love the Knicks. Tom's doing a great job. Are you in New York, or
where do you stay?
I got a couple. I'm staying in a couple different places. Starting to make my way back to New York a little bit because of my business. and also some in Los Angeles, and then sometimes maybe Texas every now and then.
Okay.
But
Okay.
traveling a lot.
Yeah. That's I like that. I like that, Meta. I think that I see that. I see you being a coach one day.
Oh, 100%. I think like with my experience in basketball, right? I really just want to coach. I don't really care about all the other stuff. But with my experience in basketball, and then also my experience in entrepreneurship, that's a really good combination, because entrepreneurship is very much like leading a team. In terms of some of the degrees that a lot of these people might have in the higher positions, I didn't get it initially, even though my major was architecture, and I did have the opportunities to go to Princeton and go to the architect programs at Notre Dame, different things like that. I spent most of my time playing defense in the NBA. But when I retired, I introduced myself to education, which lends itself to analytics and different things. I do have my own dev shop. I have a dev shop, so if anybody needs development, you can go to arttestmanagementgroup.com. We do have we are building products currently. But in terms of running a team from a head coach perspective, or even like a president or GM perspective, the characteristics are there, the personality traits, the experience, the know-how is there, and if it happens, I'm ready to hop on a flight, and if it doesn't, that's also okay.
All right, I got like just a few quick hitters for you about your
Mhm.
career before we wrap up here. Is favorite moment of your career?
My favorite moment of my career, finishing sixth in MVP voting. That was pretty crazy to me. Almost was there.
Winning the 2010 NBA championship. What was that series like? What was just winning an NBA? What is it like to win an NBA championship? Not many people have done that. What is that like?
I think my favorite moment of that time was when Phil Jackson came to me at the end of Game 5 and said, "I need you to score the ball." Phil says, "Man, I need you to put the ball in the basket." But initially, I was just like playing the execution game because that's what I thought we wanted at the time. So when he came to me and said that, I had, I think, 18 in Game 6 and then 20 in Game 7. I'm used to scoring the rock. So that was probably something that stands out, because he gave me the confidence to go out there and play free. And he also kind of hinted that, hey, I need you to pick up the scoring a little bit. So that was a great feeling.
Favorite teammate?
Well, I like all my teammates, because I don't have a favorite, because I was on 6 teams. I played with Reggie Miller, I played Charles Oakley, Greg Anthony, Will Perdue, Tony Kukoc, Dickie Simpkins, Yao Ming, Shane Battier, Kobe Bryant, Powell, Lamar Odom, Elton Brand, Mike Bibby. Like, is no favorite teammate.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about is there? I like that. I like that though. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that.
How?
Is you established you had such a good run with the Lakers. Is there any cool Kobe story, anything he told you that was really intriguing? It's just amazing when you hear all these stories about him. It's just like it feels not real, and it's like crazy. You were such a big part of his run there.
Yeah, but my favorite thing about Kobe is two things that stand out. But the one thing, after his career, I went to his office and he was working on the Wizard Nod series books. He had about 7 stacks of books, 7 stacks of, call it, edits that he had his little sticky notes in, and he was editing. Kobe was a great writer, by the way. And I said, "Kobe, what is that?" I said, "You making those edits?" He said, "Yeah, I'm reading through all this stuff." I'm like, man, he was at his desk, and it was his main focus. And I think later, RIP, when my brother passed away, I think that series came out. It's called the Wizard Nod series, and I remember him just like locked in. That's something that stands out to me.
I love that. I love that, Meta. All right, well, Meta, I'd love to stay in touch. This was fun. I'm just playing around with kind of YouTube like you are, and this was a fun little 30-minute chat. I love everything you share with me, and let's definitely stay in touch and maybe do something else in the future. I'd love to check out your channel too and see what you got going on over in that show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I just want to let everybody know you can go to thepandasfriend.com. It's our brand where we encourage people to always touch the greatness and never give up. So go to thepandasfriend.com, go copy yourself some merchandise. Hey, Ben, it was really great being on your show. Thanks for having me.